What up? What up?
What's up, everybody?
Apologies. Since we are, of course, the most professional and highbrow of shows, I am completely and totally prepared
Yeah, me
for
too.
this before the stream starts. Definitely wasn't cleaning my kitchen at 12:59 and then realized what time it was. But sometimes it really do be like that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what's going on, y'all? What's going on, Luke? There we go. Perfect. So yeah.
Right.
For those of you who subscribe to my channel, I'll go ahead and drop a link to this in the chat. You already kind of know the story of how things went last week. It was a very good week.
Yeah. By the way, James did record this and put this up on his channel. I believe he got it live last night. So,
yep, link is in the chat. Hop on over to Shimwrecker Enterprises, and So what Luke and I did is we actually.
Oops.
I turned on my camera, and we had our mics. We had the microphones going, and essentially we recorded an entire league night. And just kind of as Luke and I were starting to see transition and notice little things about what the lanes were doing, we kind of took that chance to talk through what we're seeing, how we're adapting to it, and just kind of let you inside our brains a little bit, kind of in the moment, as opposed to having to remember all this like a week later or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very fun. I really enjoyed that. Haven't had a ton of views because it's a 2.5-hour video, so I'm sure that's not helping. But reception does seem to be pretty positive, so we'll probably do that a few more times throughout the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Derek Roberts, that's Poston, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't that his alt account? Yeah. The rest of the team getting rolled by the Ottawa guys. Kind of depends on what pair they're on, honestly. If they're on the high end again, I could see it happening.
Team Ottawa's been doing really well this year, though. So
yeah, Ottawa's been crushing it. Russ's team, I think, is in 5th after last week. So yeah, I guess we can kind of start talking through at least a little bit. I mean, the story kind of tells itself for the most part. We were on 15 and 16, which this was week 8, and only the second time we'd been north of 5 and 6 in the league.
Yeah.
So we're done with the low end. Oh, sweet. Poston's going to be there tonight. So this is only the second week we had been north of the low end of the league, or the low end of the building for this league this year. 15 and 16 has historically been a little bit of a weird pair kind of versus the ones around it. 13 and 14 and 17 and 18, I found, at least on the right side, usually tend to hook quite a bit. 15 and 16 can end up really washy sometimes. Very difficult to find proper mid lane stability, especially on the right side, where you could throw 2 decent shots, one of them 9 pins, the other 2 8-10s, and you're just sitting there like, the heck just happened? Mm-hmm. So it was a little more. I think Noah and I especially were playing a little more of the face smash control game on the right side than we normally would have. Right lane, I think, had a kind of a little wiggle spot that Noah and I both had to account for. Obviously, I think, Luke, you said you played them the same pretty much all night, more or less.
Yeah, but they were significantly wetter than they had been. I was probably a solid arrow left of where I normally play at.
Yeah, I actually started a little bit further left, but that was so I could kind of inside in and get away from the wiggle to the right, because I threw a couple shots at the 5 board in practice, and it did not do what looked like a stable, consistent thing in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And so that, plus the team we were against, is a James Wick. What's up, Keith? So the combination of the lanes feeling a little choppy, plus the team we were against had a little more rev rate, and they were doing kind of varied things. I just kind of tried to inside in and get away from them a little bit. So yeah, it worked out okay. If you had told me at the start of the night that I was going to shoot 739 3 days after falling off my bike and thinking I sprained both wrists, I would have been jumping for joy. But it was kind of just a really solid night for all of us. I mean, even Jaden's 150 game too was just a incredible, just like a Wasn't there a movie that was like a series of unfortunate events or something like that? I feel like that was the subtitle of her game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the lane started transitioning a little bit, but everything was completely over exaggerated. She got it out early a couple times and it dove through the nose, and then she made a little move inside and then it just sailed on her and everything. She paid max penalty for everything.
Yep.
But she's pretty even keel. So
yeah, she's tough. Like she's been there enough that she knows she can find it and get it back. And I mean, she shot 150 and almost won her series against DJ.
Yeah.
That
so it was
game is pretty cool.
It was just an unfortunate thing. And so even with people that don't get super animated or upset, they can still kind of mentally just get out of it, especially if they're not if somebody's not animated or upset, they're probably not really that committed or into it in the first place. And so it's a real short trip to them just kind of checking out. But she rides that line where nothing gets her too low. She keeps working at it, but she doesn't disengage.
It's like 5 or 6 frames in. I think she had like 78 in the 6th, if that. It might have been 78 in the 7th, but it was like she just kept grinding and making the best shots she could. And those disaster games are gonna happen to everyone. And I mean, it was obviously a very unfortunate occurrence, but I mean, she shot 157. That could have easily been 120 or 130. And, even just kind of finding, chunking away and getting there. And then, I mean, coming back and almost double centurying herself in the same set, that would have been pretty impressive.
But, yeah. Plus she's held us up plenty of times herself over the last several weeks. And so, we finally got an opportunity to, hold her up for a change. And then, I mean, she carried us. She didn't really exactly carry us the last game, but she turned it into a no doubter, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you won by 82 in game 3, I think. So
yeah,
that was a really solid recovery. Equipment wise, I think you threw the Summit all night, if I remember correctly. And I was just slow hooking my NV Tour. I think we both talked about this on the league video on my channel. But it was kind of just for you, it was keep it in play and keep doing the same thing you've been doing. And for me, it was keep myself in play and keep myself out of trouble because I was not feeling 100% physically. And so it's just kind of trying to maximize what I had. And I mean, I cared more about making sure I got as many pins as I could for the team points than about my individual points last week, if that makes sense. Because it was kind of there was a huge range of outcomes. So when I committed to bowl, it was like, I'm just going to do everything I can and whatever happens. It was kind of my perspective coming into the night, which I probably need to approach it like that more often, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
A little bit of mental game talk there.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, again, if we get our singles points, fine. But I think I think our team, sure, we can put scores up. Obviously, I mean, we're still outscoring the entire league. We still have the highest pinfall. But I think that is our strength, not necessarily. I mean, you're going to pop some huge games in, and the rest of us can, there's a couple 230s, 240, 250 on the board.
Yeah.
But our team strength is just winning team games. That's going to be where we're going to demoralize people. And it doesn't matter if we go 6-2, if we lose a couple individual points.
We're going to get most of our team games.
Yeah. I mean, we're 300 sticks up on Trevor's team.
Yeah, 300 sticks up on second place for
through 8 weeks
for a total pinfall. Yeah, so that is not insubstantial. So high pinfall in the league. We did make up a little bit of ground, I think. Yes, we were 15 back after week 7, and then closed that to 6. And also, I think we gapped a little bit on both Russ and Johnny after last week. Because I mean, taking 29, even though let's see, Johnny took 24. Russ took 21. So yeah, we gapped them a little bit. So that kind of gave us a little bit of breathing room. We have not bowled Russ or Trevor's team yet, so those will be a couple of really fun matches when we do get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think we have Russ in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we're already halfway through the first half.
Yeah. After tonight, we're going to be more than a quarter of the way through the league. So time flies. Keith did bring up a question about redrafting. They redraft every quarter. I personally, for me, I kind of see both sides of it. If you want to create a league that's a little more kind of social, or you don't want to risk being stuck with the same people that you don't like bowling with every week for an entire season, then I 100% get that side of it. But I mean, at the same time, if you're entering a league like this, like that is a risk that you kind of know you have to take on, and it's kind of just hope for the best almost and try and make the most of it. But I think it's kind of I don't know. I see a full season like this as a decent life lesson, honestly. If like you're not always going to end up on teams that you enjoy bowling with. You just got to kind of make the most of it, and you're not always going to be in the best situations. Sometimes you just got to earn the paycheck. So
this is interesting. It gives don't just have the same people average or draft all the time. So that's an interesting way to look at it. And it might actually be interesting if they took the bottom 18 average, like for our league, if they took the bottom 18 averages and let them draft their kind of dream teams or whatever. That'd almost be more like a fantasy team type of thing.
Yeah, that'd actually be kind of cool though. I do like the mixing it up with how they select the captain sets. I think that is actually really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. But like you said, it's one of those things where if you draft a team and it doesn't end up going well, then you're stuck with them for 35 weeks. And if you do. If you do draft a good team, like we're on a good team, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want that messed with. So,
exactly. It's kind of, I think it falls almost. It puts a little more of a burden on the captains and making sure you draft a decent team where people can get along. And I mean, there's gonna be people that you're not gonna get along with in any situation. But I mean, there's probably 10 or 15 that I really had no interest in bowling with for this year. And so it's just kind of, it's on you to kind of figure that out and piece it together as you go.
This is a cool idea too that's on the screen. So think of like a Rick Jimenez situation where he's out for right now. And so somebody went ahead and drafted him, but he's getting sub for right now. But you could just say, oh yeah, I just can't bowl the first third or the first quarter or whatever. It does get a little hectic trying to get people in and redraft, and with the amount of people that we have, the draft night.
Yeah, their league I think is 11 or 12 teams, not 18. So
that's a little bit
draft
more manageable.
The draft is a lot more. Yeah,
it would go a lot quicker, and that's something that you could almost. That's something that you could almost stick around. So the last week of the quarter, you could just stick around after league, everybody that's drafting, and then just take 30 minutes to run through it, and then you'd be ready to go for the following week. So our draft takes a while. So
it took about an hour, I think, this year,
which is quicker than it normally goes. But I think that we've had the same people in the league for the most part for the last several years. We haven't had a lot of in and out, and so there's not as much. Everybody is kind of has been in the league for a while.
Everybody understands they know the rhythm of it. As much as anything. And I think for me, having the kind of exposure to this type of drafting philosophy with Panda Pack League, I think that actually helped me a ton because I kind of like, I think I took a total of less than 2.5 minutes for my 3 picks. And I mean, yours took all of 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, Luke's there. I'll take Luke. But there's different ways to do it. But that is actually that's kind of cool to have the kind of flexibility that format provides that Biddle and Keith are talking about.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So for those of you watching, I mean, that's part of why we do this every week is because a lot of people find the concept really interesting. And so talking about something like this, I know we're doing a recap, but this gives you ideas, because I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, yeah, I really like this idea. And so I pitched it to our area. And then he said they got it started, and the house called him one day and he thought, okay, well, they're going to cancel my league because I don't have enough interest. And they said, well, no, we're going to have to expand it because we've had more interest than we have lanes for, basically. So they had a situation to try to figure out, just because so many people were so interested in it. And so this is just another thought. If people like, yeah, but if I get drafted onto somebody's, like you were talking about, if I get drafted onto somebody's team that I don't want to bowl with, it doesn't have to be an all season thing. You can do stuff like this to kind of mix it up, depending on, how things go in your area.
Yeah. Tyler was telling me when we were driving back from Pittsburgh last weekend that there was one year where Medlin actually redrafted at the half.
Yeah, they tried it one year and nobody really liked it. It was more hassle than it was really worth.
Yeah.
And so they decided to just go on ahead and go back to this. So
yeah,
and I think
with the group that is in Medlin is harmonious enough as a whole that it's never really going to be fireworks.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, to kind of wrap this up and move on to this week, as far as myself, I tried the Tour Dynamics and Ruby in practice, and I'm not sure I hit the head pin with them, and so
I think you washed out 3 times in a row with the Ruby. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, and so I thought, okay, well, the Summit's kind of slow, but that actually made it perfect, because it's been just a little bit too strong, and I've been having to kind of flag it and kind of float it through the middle a little bit more just to keep it off the head pin. But it's such a good look that it's been working. This week, I actually got to kind of halfway relax and just do the lefty old guy thing and just kind of flop it down the side and watch it.
Yeah.
So my set was very, very uninteresting. I just hit the pocket, and if they didn't fall down, aside from flagging my weekly 7-pin.
Yeah, it happens.
It kind of worked out, and Noah just, again, the lanes weren't quite hooking enough, and Noah just kept it in play, and
he was his game 1 was actually a really, really good save. He had like 90 in the 6th and had no idea where the ball was going, and bailed it out to 201.
Yeah, and as far as the other team, Steve Keeler shot a clean 620.
Yeah,
he's been having bad luck. He can't carry anything, and it's to the point where he's laughing at it because it's just, the carry is so bad. And then Justin Preston, I can't figure out why he scores so bad. I don't understand. He throws it so good, and you look up there and the score is not there, but he throws it good. I think he makes
his release is really nice. Like
he's one that I would want to like take clips of to put on my Instagram, and the scores just aren't there for whatever reason. I think he'll figure it out. And Jeff White is Jeff White's just one of the most solid bowlers in the league, period.
Yeah.
If you have Jeff White leading off, you're going to be in good shape.
Yes. If Jeff had made it to me, he would have been in consideration for my first pick, honestly. But I think Steve drafted a few spots before me and took him.
Yeah, Keeler picked a few spots before you. But
Jeff was on my team last year, and really good dude. We get along very well, and he's another of those, like, he's the most left-handed right-hander I know. Where he just plunks it up 7 on literally everything and makes
it doesn't seem like he ever has to move either. So that's the other thing, is he's just got that pure ball roll off his hand to where it just doesn't see the first 30 feet of the lane.
Yep.
And so he doesn't have to, I mean, he can just sit there and fire away. So
yeah, exactly.
So moving on to this week.
Yeah, so we are against Danny Bradley's team, which Danny actually was absent last week, as was Megan. I think was there, but did not bowl. I'm not 100% sure why. Anyways, so Danny's team has had a little bit of a rocky start. Danny was the captain on this team. I think he averaged 34, 35-ish last year. He was very close. He was
he almost
second
had
or third.
Your start to this year was almost his start to last year. Like, I think he was averaging 250 for a handful of weeks.
Yeah, he had a very, very, very hot start last year. Pretty much the exact opposite of it this year. Megan was drafted at 206, so she's been about average-ish.
Yeah, that's kind of where she's going to be.
Alex at 220, that sounds about right.
That's normal
Tyler,
for Alex.
yeah, Tyler, I've never actually seen him bowl before this year, so that's a little bit of an unknown for me. I don't even remember what was his draft cost. I'm kind of curious.
Let me see. I think Book is 204, so he's right on top of it. Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
No, right. So that's actually that's a really weird.
Oh, that was that his.
That's
okay, so that was his average from last week then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pulling up my notes from the draft board to see. Yeah, he was drafted at 05.
Okay.
So that's about where he should be, give or take.
Okay, so pretty well everybody but Danny is right on top of where you would expect them to be.
Pretty much, yeah. Danny's just had a rough start to the year, and I mean, he's one of those guys where he's a little more streaky, I think, than a lot of captains. Like if he finds it, he's going to crush it, but if he doesn't, he's just going to be fishing a little bit. He's a very feel-based bowler, I would say.
Yeah, and he's got a pretty heavy ball roll. He hooks it a bunch, and he has got pretty sharp ball reaction down lane. And so, yeah, if it doesn't take a whole lot to kind of put him out of scoring. Not necessarily. I mean, he's not going to just collapse. He's not going to be out there shooting 550s or anything, but he has a tough time stringing them if the lanes are a little wonky.
Yep, exactly. So as far as lineups, so also lane wise, we're on 9 and 10 this week, which
9 and 10
here is the highest scoring pair by
a lot.
Through 8 weeks, 3 pins a game per bowler. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Because league average is what is league average right now? I want to say it's 215 in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from 7 aside from 7 and 8, that's 5 pins a game higher.
214.35 is league average at the moment.
Yeah.
So to be 5 above that on one pair through 8 weeks, that's more than just 1 or 2 really good weeks. Essentially, that's like everybody is consistently hitting that pair better than the rest. So I think it is going to be a little more of a shootout tonight, kind of based on that. 9 through 12, I think, are the pairs that are right in front of the door. So I think it's actually good that we're catching it now before it gets really cold and drafty, because that's when those pairs get weird.
Yeah.
So I expect 9 and 10 to kind of pull back to like closer to what 7 and 8 is, and I wouldn't be surprised to see 11 and 12 drop off a couple more pins as we get into winter. Just because those pairs can be so unpredictable week to week.
Yeah.
But as far as lineups, this does assume that Danny's full team is going to be there. But I think, where are my notes? I've got here we go. So Megan on their active roster, Megan and Danny are actually on the top half, so they're going to be in the 1 and 2 spots. Danny and Tyler are both averaging 205 coming into this week, according to what I've got. But at the same time, Tyler's out averaging Danny. It's like 205.58 to 205.43. So that's just a situation of like just the decimal point is pushing Tyler down to the 3-4 spot. So it's going to be Jaden and I facing off against Tyler and Alex, and then you and Noah up against Danny and Megan. And I think you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, is we could try and play the lineup game a little bit, but at the same time, I think you've kind of found a comfort zone being in the leadoff spot, and I think you've been kind of settling in there really well. And Danny's team also has lineup choice, since we've outscored them by quite a bit on the year. Because that's the lineup choice is determined by who has a higher total pinfall, or who has a lower total pinfall gets final say on matchups. So I think for us, it might just be one of those kind of we do our thing and whatever happens type of deals. You know, Danny could pop off and make life miserable for you or for Noah. Yeah. And you know, I think Noah might actually be due for a pretty big set tonight. If he kind of gets comfortable a little quicker and the mids aren't as weird. I think he was on for like 660, 670 last week pretty easily. So that's definitely in his range of outcomes. So,
yeah, I think I think Noah and Megan match up a lot better
Yeah.
because they have virtually the same game. I mean, I think Noah maybe has a little bit more speed.
But they're going to be playing the same part of the lane with roughly the same shape ideas for the most part. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Danny, again, the matchup up there is just going to be based on how Danny bowls. Because if Danny's on, he's going to shoot 750, and neither of us are. I mean,
if Danny's on, he's going to beat all of us. If he's not, then we could all beat him. It's kind of like that's genuinely the range of outcomes.
Yeah, because he's got the big scoring game to where if he's on, we're just not going to be able to catch him. So it doesn't really matter at that point. And if Noah or I are bowling well, we're going to out carry Megan, basically. So it's one of those things where we leave it alone. And I think that they might look at it too. They have final choice, but I think it makes sense for both teams because I think that they can easily see Megan and Noah just match up better. I think that would be the truer or better way to stack it up.
Yeah.
But like you were talking about with our lineup, I like our lineup top to bottom, and I kind of hope it. And even then, even if Jaden and I end up switching at some point, I think that's completely indifferent. I like leading off though. Yeah. So and Jaden's been a rock down there, and so
Noah's been like. And I say this not to roast. It's just kind of an observation more than anything else. Is like Noah does kind of struggle a little bit with kind of getting comfortable early.
Mm-hmm.
And so having him in a spot where he's got you kind of getting things going in front of him, and then he's got Jaden and me after him, that just kind of gives him a little more space to just kind of relax and do his thing. Because I think that's when, at least for right now, that seems to be when he's at his best, is when he can just kind of find space almost to kind of just settle back and do his thing. And so it's kind of, Jaden, like you said earlier, she's been doing really, really good at, she's been solid at kind of just keeping herself in play and being this kind of annoying bulldog almost. And then, I mean, you up top, as long as you make your spares, I think you're actually really, really good in that leadoff role for us. So.
Yeah, because I think aside from the 6'10" or whatever I had a couple weeks ago, I should be able to apply pretty consistent pressure from up there.
Yeah, that's what our team's built around, is consistent pressure. And if we keep doing that, then we'll be okay. But
now the way it is right now, they already have Danny on top. So probably what's going to happen is Megan's just going to slot into that 2-hole anyway. So we might end up getting the matchup that we want.
That's entirely possible. Yeah.
Just because normally the lowest average goes in the 2-hole.
Yeah.
And so if it comes out of the, if they pop the league stuff up and it's already on there like that, they're probably just going to leave it. And I think that they'll probably take a look at it too.
Yeah.
But I think it's in both teams' best interest to have that happen. And I think we just let them decide if it either comes up that way and they don't do anything about it, or if they take a look at it. Alex is one to look at that stuff too. So I think that Alex will probably.
Because Alex has been in that league for years. He's one of those guys where even though he's not a captain, he knows what's going on.
Yeah, and he pays attention to stuff like that. He's not super competitive, but he's not apathetic about it.
That's it. Yeah, he's intelligent about it. I think it's probably a decent way to say it.
So I think that's probably what's going to happen. Last week we thought that because Keeler's team had been struggling, we thought that we were going to, get 20 to 25. We got 29. You can't really expect that at any certain point, but feel pretty good about that. I think that we have the advantage again here, even if Danny does pop off. I think we've got the firepower to get 20 again.
Yeah.
They might take a game from us, but I like us to get, again, the personal points are a little bit tougher to figure out, but the team points, I like us to get 2 of the games in series at least.
Yeah.
And that's 12 points right there, which means we're also going to be getting a handful of individual points. And so 2 games in series, basically any way you chop it up, is going to get you 20 points.
Pretty much. Yeah. So they actually, they bowled on 9 and 10 back in week 5. And it looks like Danny's team actually went minus on that pair against Jay's team.
Okay.
So they've had a very rough start to the year, but it's like it's one of those situations where you know that they didn't start great, but you also know what they're capable of. So you still got like there's no pushovers in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking look at it this way. Nick Vaughn's team has had an absolutely atrocious start to the year, and we've been absolutely crushing. And our like that's 21,460 to 19,856. That's what 1,700 pins, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's 1,700 pins through 8 weeks in a scratch league, in a 4-man scratch league, and that's top to bottom. And that kind of like sounds like a decent amount, but at the same time, aside from a couple of teams that have just had really rough starts, the spread's 1,100 pins from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And that kind of spread is like the amount of parity that consistently shows up in this league is pretty impressive. So
yeah, and
that's actually pretty cool to look at.
One more thing that I wanted to point out here about this is going to be really interesting when we go over to the next half, because it's the same schedule all over again, and so we can go back and compare and see, okay, well, how did we do again? What pair were we on? How did we compare against this team the first time? How do we think it's going to go this time? And looking at, we thought that we were going to have a bunch of the big shooters towards the end of the year, and so we thought, well, we need to get points early and whatever else. But if we look at it, we've already bowled Jennings. They're in first. We've already bowled Clark. They're in fourth. We've already bowled Kreitzer. We bowled Wagner the first week. We're bowling Bradley this week.
Tonight. Yeah.
So, and down towards the bottom, we bowled Bauer, Tennyson, Keeler, and Vaughn. But I mean, we've bowled so far. Jesse? The schedule.
Oh, that was week 2. That's right. Sorry, I forgot about that.
So far, the schedule we've bowled an equal amount of teams in the top as we have teams in the bottom. So, we've got a couple more tougher teams, but there's a couple teams up there that we didn't necessarily expect to be up there, or that we weren't really sure on. So it's just kind of, and we spent most of our time on pairs that were at or below league average, and we're still leading the league in pinfall. Yeah, and we shot, what did we shoot? We shot 2,700 last week.
2685. Yeah.
2685 on 15 and 16, which is the next to lowest scoring
That's
pair.
The second lowest scoring pair in the league. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
211 a game, and we overshot that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The last 4 weeks, or the last 5 weeks, I think we're averaging like 227 as a team. So
yeah,
if we keep doing that, I'm good with it.
Yep.
So 2,700 for weeks 4, 5, and 6, and then a couple of mid 26s the last 2. So
yeah,
plunking right along.
Yeah.
Equipment wise, anything changing for you tonight?
I'm bringing. We finally got the Magic and the TNT infused, and I'm swapping out the Fate for the infused tonight.
The Fate.
Say what?
Been bringing your Fate. You mean
I have the last couple weeks. I put it in there instead of the old label.
Okay.
But
I
don't think it's going to make it out of the bag. And the infused is more or less. I figure we'd because you're drilling a perfect mindset here in a couple hours.
Spoiler alert! Geez, dude.
Yeah. So if nothing else, it's just to stick around and put a couple games on it after league and see what happens. I think it could be a really nice, because that TNT core is so chuggy and heavy rolling that I think it would almost, if it is actually good, it's going to act like a cleaner Summit, which I would love to have. The gold label is kind of in no man's land. If I'm throwing something strong-ish, it's going to be the Summit, and if I can't throw that, it's going to be the Tour Dynamics or the IQ Tour,
or your Phase G.
Yeah, or the
is your Phase G coming tonight or no?
Yeah, the Phase G is a kind of a permanent fixture in the bag now, and I don't even get that one out much. But if I am in between those two, I'm going to go G over the gold label. So it's just kind of unfortunately. There's nothing wrong with it. I really like it, but it just hasn't seen any action.
Phase G is just a little bit better.
Yeah,
like just a marginal nudge better for you. That makes sense.
Yeah, the gold label is just a little bit more naturally continuous. The G, I can kind of play with angles and shapes a little bit easier. And plus, it's just it's a little cleaner. It's easy when I get the gold label out. I have to get in a little bit, and I think the
Yeah.
G I can just kind of play the high hard one better.
Yeah. It's almost like the gold label is a little faster on friction, and a little more
Yeah.
pop on friction, and that kind of forces your angles a little more open, which then
Mm-hmm.
opens you up to a 6-pin, 7-pin behind it type of look almost.
Yeah, so if I just need to keep it tight and fire it,
Yeah.
the G just by a smidge nudges it. So I put the fade in there for something in between. So if I still need a little bit more cover than IQ Ruby or TDX, then I've got that because it's blendier. It's almost like a blendier gold label.
Yep.
And so if I do need to jam it and don't need the quickness from the G, then that's kind of what's going to fit. But I do want to take a look at the infuse because I'm kind of surprised. I expected it to suck, and so far it hasn't been sucking for people. And so I did want to test it out to possibly take it this weekend because that type of ball has always scored well there.
Yep, that makes sense.
Hashtag Daredevil Danger.
Okay, yeah. No, Angel mentioned that last night to me. I forgot that Broken Arrow was where you had your most hated 300 of all time, I dare say, with your Danger.
Yeah,
and it wanted to punch yourself in the forehead every single shot.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily look good, but it just that general ball shape, and so it's probably going to go. I won't use it probably.
Left side, but I mean it's worth a shot.
Yeah, if it and again, I'm taking like 2 or 3 balls that I don't expect are going to see any action anyway, and so it's just more or less if something else sucks, I'll give it a flyer, but I'm not taking it down there to try to force it to work. And so again tonight, I think that core acts a lot like the Summit, and so if I could have like a cleaner version of the Summit, that'd be perfect. And so if nothing else, I'm just going to throw a couple games after league tonight. I'm not going to. I learned my lesson, and that's the thing. When I shot 610 a couple weeks ago, I tried to make that phase work, and it just didn't. Of course, one and two just sucks apparently now.
One and two catfished you, and that ball catfished you simultaneously, which was honestly kind of impressive.
Yeah, which one and two sucked in our mixed league for me too, because I think I shot like 620 the next night with that stupid night road.
Yeah, it happens.
That is Steve Keeler game.
Yeah, that was. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, clean 190.
I actually had a clean 195.
9 counts in a row.
That was So it was not very fun.
But anyway,
yeah, for myself, obviously the NV Tour is going. I think that like I was talking to someone on Tuesday about this. Is like the NV Tour is one where I don't care what I'm bowling on. I will be able to throw it at some point. It always works. It is the ultimate benchmark ball because it keeps me in play. It tells me what the lanes are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a just monster range of use. So that one is, of course, coming. I don't have it here to show you, but I did get a perfect mindset in yesterday. So it's sanded HK22 hybrid ASIM with the mindset core inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be drilling that later this afternoon, and that's going to be going to Tulsa as well. I think it's going to be just a little more pivot tumble, but the same traction zone as my Infinity, which will be a really good shape to have. So perfect mindset is in for my big kind of more traction-y ASIM ball than the NV Tour. And then I'm actually going to change up the bottom half of my bag. I'm going to go back to the silver ball for tonight, my NV Tour Pearl, especially knowing we're against Danny. I think having a little more pop and traction combined than my Fireball is going to be very helpful. But then I'm also going to bring the Kinetic Cobalt as well. Just kind of having that little more rounded off shape in case they get really crispy and I need to play on top of it a little more. I think that'll let me do that a little bit better than the Fireball will. So kind of tweaking a few things, but still staying in some overall very familiar ideas for me tonight.
Yeah, because that's the other thing to talk about is that I'm by myself on the left side, and then everybody else, aside from Danny, is going to be right of you.
Yeah.
Because everybody else just kind of puts it down the side. Tyler, I think I've seen him a couple times. I think he's kind of right in the middle. He's just got that.
It'll be like track area.
Yeah, he's going to be right on top of Alex. Alex gives it a little bit of a fade. Megan and Noah is a little straighter than that. Jaden's super straight. So yeah, it's just you're just going to have to keep track of what Danny's doing or what
and that's
to the lanes.
Yeah, and that's why if I didn't have the perfect mindset available, I would actually be bringing a trick ball for tonight. I'd probably like 2,000 grit on my Widow hybrid.
Mhm.
Something that'll dig and kick and let me get left if I really need to. Because when we bowled Danny, I never actually bowled that well against Danny last year because I was trying to
Mhm.
kind of avoid what he was doing a little too much, I think, and either arrow right of him or four left of him type of deal.
Yeah.
And that really got me in a lot of trouble last year. And so this is just going to be keep it a little more simple, keep things in front of me a little more, and if it comes together and I shoot a big set, then that's fine. But otherwise, I just need to keep myself in play a little more and avoid the seven splits, and that should be all right.
Yeah, I think almost if anything, you could use everybody else's traffic as like a bumper, just edge inside of everybody else,
Yeah,
because you've got the tricks now that you've been working on, and then plus, you gave it the slow hook last week, and so
yeah,
you got that trick that you have fresh too.
yep.
So I think again, it's just not overthinking it.
Oh, what's up, Eric? What does your cheat sheet say about 1 and 2 for the left side? Good
Oh,
luck.
it's terrible. And
Yeah,
I think that what you do with that ruby, just kind of putting it down the side, splash the pocket. Don't try to carries rough, because I bowled Jim Anderson over there, and yeah, he was throwing plastic, but at the same time, he was
even on
having
the
trouble.
even on the fresh, it wasn't that nice.
Yeah, and it just hasn't been great. So I think that what you naturally do anyway, just try to splash the pocket. If you try to get it to set up, it's going to be 7-pin, opposite corner, drive by eights, whatever else. So I and again, even if you do whack it, it's probably going to be like 650. It's just
Yeah,
I haven't figured that pair out this year, and we also again we bowl our mixed league down on that end, and so we've already bowled on 1 and 2. Between the two leagues, like 4 or 5 times this year. It
yeah,
just hasn't gone well.
yeah.
It just
I think
hasn't gone
the
well.
the best outcome I've had on that pair was I shot 720 against Team Ottawa, and that's just because they got so dry that I could just fade it through the middle the entire night.
Yeah.
And if that's not really nice, then I mean, obviously I didn't throw it great last time on 1 and 2, or no, I threw it all right. I just
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's right, that was the 2-8-10 Greek Church against Johnny. Yeah, that wasn't very fun.
Yeah. I think Trevor's going to have a frustrating night. I would put Trevor on probably 660 or 670 on that pair.
Yeah. One and
I'm
two.
not going to
One
put
and
money
two
on
is
that,
sportsbook line is 684.5 over under. Place your
Yeah.
bets now. Both sides of the line are at -110 at the moment.
Yeah.
So good luck in high scores. Yeah, 1 and 2 on both sides of the lane just feels like one of those pick your own adventure books where someone picked the adventure for you and they didn't tell you what they picked. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just hold on for dear life and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is going to be one of those nights of just try and hit the pocket 11 times a game, especially on the left side.
Yeah. And
for
if
that
they
pair.
don't, because again, I threw it really good. I got the night road
Yep.
back out and I threw it really good on 1 and 2 for the mixed league. And it was
Yep.
9 count. I finished game 2 with 6 9 counts. Just
Yep.
so
So it goes.
yeah. But anyhow, we've belabored the point long enough. So yeah, we're solidly in second place for right now. I'd expect us to build on that again. Jerry is bowling, or Jennings is bowling Wilson this week. So best case scenario would be for them to just chop.
They're
I
on.
mean, realistically speaking,
they're on 5 and 6, which has not been an awesome pair.
yeah, that pair's not
Most
great.
people. So yeah, if it's a grind out fest, I almost like Russ's team to take that, which I wouldn't hate, just for kind of our place in the standings. So just got to keep
Yeah.
chunking along. But yeah, I gotta go get some work done and pack up, and then head over your way to drill before Tulsa this weekend.
Yeah, I've got to remember to pack too. I haven't done that either. So
Well, you're welcome for the reminder.
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you pay me the big bucks for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anywho, hope you all have enjoyed. I just posted a link to the to the league commentary that Luke and I did from last week. Just went live on my channel yesterday. It's pretty much just 2.5 hours of bowling ASMR combined with Luke and I talking a little bit throughout the middle of it. So
Yeah,
I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a good night. It was both a good night and a bad night to do it. It was good because we struck a lot and we weren't like super grumpy. But
Mhm.
I also feel like once we kind of got into a rhythm, there wasn't a whole lot of thinking and super big changes going on. But that's
Yeah, there wasn't a
how it
whole lot
goes
to talk
sometimes.
about other
Yeah.
than, and I think that, and we could talk about. I don't know that Jaden and Noah would actually want to talk on it, but we could. There was pretty fascinating watching Jaden turn it around. So
Yeah.
Um,
And we got to bowl right next to 3 USB-C Eagles on the pair next to us.
yeah,
That's always fun.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
all right. Well, yeah. Thanks, everybody. We will be back again at 1:00 next Thursday afternoon to talk about how this went. Are you going to be streaming Tulsa at all this weekend? Or
I am not going to be streaming. I'm
I know
going
their
to
Wi-Fi
record it.
sucks.
Yeah, I'm going to record it and post it to my channel
Okay.
later, which I'm
It'll be
also
up at some
behind.
point,
I've
though.
got it should be up like Monday, Tuesday, hopefully.
Okay.
I'm also behind. I've still got all my videos from Springfield doubles I need to post. So
Yeah,
I'll probably
and
just do a big dump next week of that stuff.
the videos from Tulsa were bowling with some heavy hitters. So
Yep.
Everybody throws it good.
Yeah, I've
Dylan,
got
Trevor, Dutch, Zach Wilkins.
Yep.
Almost
Our
forgot our PBA guy.
Our team pairs are gonna hook so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to actually. If you stick around and practice, I'm gonna be sitting in front of the ball return and just doing that for 3 games.
Gosh, I don't have to worry about the. I don't have to worry about the right side of the lane, and I don't have to worry about the approach issues that everybody has at Andy B's every single year. Man,
must be nice.
Man, to think I complained about having to switch at one point.
Don't worry, I'll be destroying your heads by game 2.
Yeah, that's going to be the trick. Trevor can at least
good luck. Yeah,
so.
Good luck and high scores. But yeah, no, thank you all for hanging out. I hope you've enjoyed. And yeah, back next week, same time.
Yeah, see you all.